This mystery is about a demonic phone, and it began when a random stranger hacked into somebody else's call and then started providing details about a murder. It took place during a late-night phone conversation between lovers. There was this static in the line, and then the call dropped. When the couple reconnected, the static had morphed into a set of tones and beeps. And at first, it was just annoying. Bursts of sound periodically cutting over the other person's voice. Random, or so it seemed. Eventually, however, Mike, who was a cop, realized that some intelligence had to be behind these sounds. So he started talking to these beeps. And that's when these beeps answered back. Well, after that came a flood of chilling information. Yes-no answers painting crimes of kidnapping and murder. Now, before you go thinking that this is just some strange true crime story and it's really not for you, hold on. It gets bizarre. That's because the beeps indicated that the victims, 2 young children, were the ones on the other end of the line. They were the ones providing these beeps. The only problem was, these children, well, they were dead. This mystery is a descent into the unnatural, and by the end of it, several witnesses would swear that something dark and inhuman had clawed its way into a woman's mind and had completely taken over her soul. Well, that's where this mystery is headed, but it's not at all where it began. No, it began here, on the phone, and it seemed as if it was kicked off by a single word. In mid-conversation, the line crackled with several bursts of static, and then Mike, trying to be funny, said that it must be a poltergeist. And strangely, the very moment that he said that, the line went dead. So he immediately called back, and Donna insisted that she hadn't hung up. So Mike laughed it off, and then he repeated his joke, or so he tried. But even before he had finished getting halfway through the word, poltergeist, the line dropped again. Surely there wasn't anything special about that word, right? Well, Mike didn't think so. Of course, he was a seasoned police officer, exactly what one would expect a nitty-gritty cop to be like. He was tough, narrowly focused, who from years of experience had learned to keep a solid grip on the facts and not let his imagination run wild. Some people would probably call him old-school typical. And except for a few dying plants, some scattered furniture, and this huge stereo system, his apartment was bare. Well, next to his phone, however, he did have a growing stack of cassette tapes, which held conversations that he had recorded over the years, tools of habit and of the trade he worked in, that he would use later in an attempt to get to the bottom of this case. Basically, this man certainly was not a man who believed in ghosts. At least, not yet.
Welcome to Velarcana. Here, we share mysteries from hauntings to reincarnation to psychic phenomena. I research the cases, and my husband tells the stories.
The next morning, Donna woke up and she instantly remembered the strange disconnects that had taken place the night before between her and Mike. It had something to do with the word poltergeist. Well, she wiped the sleep from her eyes and then got out of bed. And strangely, as she was walking past the phone, on her way to wake up her 8-year-old son, Bruce, it let out a series of sharp beeps. It had happened just as she had passed, and it was abrupt. It was so abrupt that it startled her. Malfunction is what she thought. Still, after what had happened last night, it did get into her head. Anyway, she woke up her son and then headed back to her room to prepare for the day. And as she was passing the phone again, it let out another beep. So she stopped and looked at it. Then there was another. Well, she waited, but there was no more. So she turned her head, and she was just about to walk away when another beep came. So she stopped for a second, and then she slowly backed away, keeping her eye on the phone. And it didn't beep until she stopped. Well, that was strange. Now, over the next little bit, it just kept beeping at different times. It would beep when she picked it up. It would beep when she set it down. So she unplugged it, plugged it back in, replaced the batteries, moved it from room to room, checked for messages, but nothing explained these strange beeps. The phone worked perfectly otherwise. Calls came in, calls went out. It just occasionally beeped. And the beeps felt purposeful, intentional. Well, eventually, frustrated and unsettled, Donna called Mike, and he drove over to fix the damn phone, as he put it. He tried everything that she had tried, and then he added fresh batteries that he had brought with him, and that fixed the phone. Or at least, they thought. For hours, the phone remained quiet, but then it let out this soft, steady tone, one that just kept going. And eventually, Mike, now frustrated, half-jokingly said, "I don't know, maybe the damn thing is haunted." And right then and there, the beep stopped. Donna said later that it felt like the phone had responded to Mike. Well, that night, Mike couldn't shake that thought, so he called Donna again. This time, he told her to stay quiet, don't say a word, and then he spoke to the nothingness. "If someone is there," he said, "give me one long beep for yes." Well, they waited as a chill creeped into each of their spines, and sure enough, a single long beep broke the silence. Well, Mike swallowed hard, and then he continued, "Are you an adult?" And there was no sound. So Mike said, "Okay, give me 2 short beeps for no." And then they heard 2 short beeps. "A boy?" 2 short beeps. "A little girl?" 1 long beep. Then the question that he really didn't want to hear the answer to, "Are you dead?" And then there was 1 long beep. Then Mike told Donna, "Stop, you're doing this." And she swore that she wasn't. Mike approached the situation the way that he approached everything, methodically. He had a few of his fellow officers check the phone for shorts or faulty wiring, surveillance maybe, but nothing turned up. So, not really knowing what else to do, he set up a recording device of his own, and he prepared to go to work. Without telling Donna at first, he began recording the calls. Hours of them. And what emerged was a story. Slowly, it was told in beeps and silences, one that just had to be impossible. The little girl claimed that she had been murdered a full 50 years earlier, that she and her brother had been kidnapped by 2 men and taken to the swampy area behind Donna's house, that both children had been severely abused, shot in the head, and then buried in the muck. Their bodies were never found. Well, Mike and Donna were drawn so deeply into the story, they felt devastated. Being a detective, Mike instinctively went to work to get more information. He went through the alphabet, asking the little girl for her name. When he reached the letter I, the phone beeped yes. Then he rattled off different girls' names until he got to Isabel, and then the phone erupted. Her brother's name took a little longer, Louis. Isabel had been 6 when she died. Louis had been 8. Isabel claimed that she just couldn't leave the property, that her remains were still somewhere out there in the swamp, and only Donna could help find them. Well, time went on, and a little while later, Donna heard Bruce, her son, talking to somebody in his bedroom. And when she asked him who he was talking to, he said that he was talking to the spirit of 2 little children who used to live in the house. And then he started crying. He said that the children had told him that there was something upstairs, something evil and big. And he said that it was very, very bad. The phone still sat in the charger, and Donna still used it just about every night to speak to Mike. And although it did feel extraordinary, supernatural even, up until this point, it had never made Donna feel as if she were in any type of danger. But now, after talking to Bruce, and him saying that there was some strange evil presence upstairs, well, for the first time, she got scared. So she went to the phone and she called Mike and told him what Bruce had said. Then Mike asked the phone, "Is Donna or Bruce in danger?" Well, one long beep. Yes. Okay. Then Mike swallowed hard. "Am I in any danger?" And the answer came back, "Yes." Well, is there anything that I can do about it? "No." "Well, what if I come over?" Well, the phone erupted, playing two short beeps over and over. The answer was clear. Absolutely not. "If I stay away, will they be safer?" One pleasant long beep. Yes. Well, Mike took the warning seriously, and he stayed away. But from that point on, the phone became an oracle. The shift was subtle. Mike continued asking questions, just no longer about the past. No, he asked questions about the present, about Donna, about himself. "Does Donna love me?" The phone answered yes, its tone almost sounding pleased. Mike asked if he should take Donna out of the house, get her away from all of this. Two sharp beeps cut him off. No. The refusal lingered in the silence that followed. Then Donna suggested maybe they should bring in psychic researchers. The phone rejected that idea just as quickly. "Are you afraid of them?" she asked. A small, hesitant beep followed. And that was the first time that Donna felt it clearly, that whatever they were dealing with was not just simply responding. No, it was taking a minute, thinking, and then choosing. Well, not long after that, Isabel began to prove that she could do more than just respond to questions. It began with Mike's curiosity. "Isabel, can you move things?" Well, just as the yes response came through the phone, Mike heard Donna scream. While she sat dumbfounded as a cloth heart that was hanging on her kitchen wall lifted up and then floated to the floor. Well, she picked it up and she set it onto her kitchen table, but when she turned back around, the cloth heart was hanging back up exactly where it belonged. When she asked Isabel if she had moved the heart, the phone chimed in affirmatively. Mike then asked the spirit to turn on the water, and just then Donna's kitchen faucet gushed in response. Then came the touch. Mike asked if Isabel could touch Donna's arm, and then all was quiet for a moment or two until Donna screamed. Later, she tried to explain the experience. She said that she really couldn't do it, only that it was icy, not cold like air or water, but penetrating, invasive, and just wrong, and she begged Mike to never do that again. The headaches came next, crushing, blinding pain behind Donna's eyes, pressure at her temples, a heaviness that pinned her to the bed. Every time she tried to leave the house, the pain would surge. Her body ached all the way down to the bone. She slept longer, deeper, and woke up more drained than she had been the day before. Mike suspected that it was Isabel, and then he began to notice patterns that he didn't want to name. Soon it became clear. Isabel did not like Donna leaving the house. She didn't like Mike visiting, and she most certainly did not like any outside help. And when Donna tried to push back, when she talked about leaving, about calling someone, about breaking the routine in any way, the pain would grow exponentially. Well, Mike finally snapped. He said that he was coming over and the consequences be damned. Well, the phone interrupted, screaming, beeping, blasting tones, weird sounds that neither one of them had ever heard before. And then silence. When Mike tried to call back, the line was busy. And he tried again, and it stayed busy. Finally, he hung up and he thought about it for a second. And then Isabel called him. Mike had tried over and over to call Donna back, but the line just remained busy. So he sat in silence for a few seconds, not really sure what he should do. Part of him wanted to go over to Donna's house, but part of him thought that might put her in danger. And just as he was contemplating these ideas, his phone rang. And he answered it, and he heard a smattering of intense sounds, clicks, and beeps. Finally, he shouted, "Okay, I'm not coming." And instantly, the chaos stopped, and one soft tone echoed through the line. Isabel was happy. Later on, through a series of questions, Isabel said that she was only trying to do her best to keep Mike and Donna safe. She said that there was a real danger from that evil presence upstairs, and she couldn't protect both Mike and Donna at the same time, so Mike had to stay away. Well, this didn't sound right at all, but neither Mike nor Donna really had any clue. Now, remember, all of this is being recorded on Mike's tapes, and the last tape that he recorded? Well, it would haunt him forever. It happened one evening. They were on the phone talking like usual, and then Donna's voice began to sound all wrong. It became flat and distant. It seemed older somehow. And she said that she was just sore all over and sick, and she really just didn't want to talk anymore. Well, Mike, despondent now, questioned his sanity. He asked Isabel if he were going crazy. No. Was there really even an Isabel in the phone at all? Yes, of course. As he spoke, Donna's breathing slowed, and it deepened. Then he heard the creaking of the cupboard in the distance. Somebody else must have been in the room, opening the cupboard at afar. And then he heard the strangest thing. Donna, not really speaking into the phone, said, "Oh no, please don't float those crackers over here. I'm not hungry." "Is that Bruce?" "No, it's Isabel. And she wants me to eat, but I'm just not hungry." Her voice was distant, and it was also deep and husky. She sounded as if she were only half present. And Mike finally understood what he was hearing. This thing, well, it wasn't just in the phone any longer. No, now it was somehow taking control of his girlfriend. He shouted, "Let her go!" And there's 2 quick beeps, and the line went dead. Later that evening, as Mike was wondering whether or not he should go over to Donna's house, the doorbell rang.
When I saw Donna at the door, the caution flags went up immediately because she had this scary look in her eyes. "Hi, baby," she said flirtatiously. "Glad to see me?" I said I was glad to see Donna, but we both know that only her body was there. "Why the dirty looks, baby?" she asked. "You don't love me anymore?"
Mike just stared, too confused really to say anything, as Donna just kind of swished her hips back and forth as she passed him and then plopped down into his favorite recliner.
I shouted, but not at Donna. She wasn't doing this. This had to be Isabel. I said, "Go to hell, Isabel." And then she looked directly at me and spoke in this demonic, baby-like tone. "Why don't you go there first, honey?"
Donna's gaze was super intense, so much so that even while she was speaking, Mike had to turn away and disappear into the kitchen. And the very minute that she finished her sentence, the very minute she finished saying, "Why don't you go first, honey?" a thunderbolt of staggering pain hit Mike squarely in the head, and he had to take a hold of the kitchen counter to keep himself from falling over. And at that very moment, Donna laughed sadistically and in a way that Mike had never heard before. And although she was in the living room and couldn't possibly have seen him, it was as if she knew that he had been hit with that massive jolt of pain. Well, he shouted, "You did this, didn't you?" And Donna only laughed harder. Well, finally, Mike let go of the counter, and then he mustered up enough courage to go back into the living room, and he looked directly into a pair of eyes that didn't look at all like his girlfriend's anymore, and he said something that sounded insane. He said, "You're trying to get inside me, aren't you? Take over my soul." To which Donna replied, "What's the matter? Have you a little headache there, Mikey?" And then she straightened up for a second and became someone else entirely, and in a deep, powerful, masculine voice, she said, "You." Well, Mike had realized that he had waited too long. The demon didn't need to trap Donna at her house any longer. No, it had what it wanted. The possession was no longer knocking at the door. It was already inside of her. Well, shortly after that, Donna, or whatever she was at this point, left. Terrified, Mike finally reached out for help. He was eventually connected to a man named Ralph Sarchie, who's a New York City police officer who, now, check this out, caught bad guys during the day and demons at night. He had spent several years investigating cases that most people don't even ever hear about. Sarchie listened to Mike's pleas, and then he listened to those tapes. And what he heard wasn't the same thing that Mike had heard. No, Mike had been suckered in. He had gotten all wrapped up. But Sarchie, well, he had seen this kind of thing before, many times. And he didn't hear the ghost of a dead little girl. No, he heard manipulation, the story of murdered children, the warnings about this big evil spirit upstairs. This was a play straight from the policeman's handbook, right? Good spirit, good cop, bad cop. Both masks worn by the same entity. Fear, sympathy, dependency. Classic. Donna, he believed, was suffering from demonic possession, but he believed that there was still hope, so an exorcism was arranged. But even preparing for it proved difficult. This entity wanted Donna, and it wanted her badly. When she was lucid in herself, which wasn't all that often, she was told to pray. But every time that she tried, she became violently ill. Well, the day before the ritual, phones rang incessantly inside of the police station where Sarchie worked. More than half of the time, when someone answered a line, no one was there. Well, this obviously was a warning, a threat. But to Sarchie, it was a desperate attempt by an entity that knew it was going to lose. The exorcism was scheduled for the next morning at Our Lady of the Rosary Chapel in Monroe, Connecticut. Mike and Donna arrived late, challenges at every turn. Mike explained that and this is just crazy, that although they had left with a full tank of gas, his gas tank had drained from full to empty every few miles, and he had to fill up more than once. By the time that Donna was seated inside of the church, the atmosphere had changed completely. The air felt heavy, pressurized even, and as this ancient Roman ritual began, Donna recoiled violently from the prayers. Then her body slumped forward, and 4 adults had to grab her to keep her from collapsing. And what came next? Well, it wasn't subtle. No, her strength became staggering. Her movements were insanely violent, and her face twisted with fury as holy water actually burned her skin like acid. She growled, lunged. She snapped at those who were trying to restrain her. Several different times, when the bishop raised his crucifix, she surged forward like an animal with crazy rage, and she hit so hard that it nearly knocked the bishop off of balance. It was crazy. All of this from a single woman who was restrained. Well, the prayers continued, and so did her screams and the thrashing, for over 4 hours, actually. Until finally, just like with so many other stories of this same type, her body went limp, and then she whispered, weakly, faintly, she said, "It's gone." The information for this story comes to us through several different sources. Mike and Donna, of course, but Bruce also confirmed this story, and Sarchie actually transcribed those tapes and wrote the story down. Amy tried her best to get her hands on those tapes, but we were unable to do so. The bishop involved confirmed the story, and also those 4 individuals that helped to restrain Donna confirmed it. And according to all of them, once she said that it was gone, as if on cue, the clouds all broke at the same time, and then sunlight poured into the church through those stained glass windows. It's interesting timing, isn't it? In the days that followed, the world settled back into its proper proportions. Donna's body felt extremely sore. Her muscles ached as if she had run a marathon that she never signed up for. Bruises formed along her arms and her shoulders where those 4 individuals fought to keep her still. But even though her body was in all of that pain, she said that still it felt 1,000 times better than it had the past several weeks. The crushing fatigue was over, and those unbearable headaches were gone. The house felt quiet again. Not peaceful, exactly, but alive. And the phone? Well, not a beep. No more strange glitches. Personally, I would have destroyed that phone. Let me know in the comments if you would have done the same thing. Now, I thought this next thing was very interesting. Donna later said that while she was suffering from this possession, she only remembered fragments, sensations, gaps, the feeling that she were watching herself from a distance as if she were in a nightmare in somebody else's dream. I thought that was cool. Amy ran a check on the names of those children, Louis and Isabel, and she couldn't find any missing persons report for the time in question. But that was nearly 3/4 of a century ago. Still, no cold case magically snapped into place, which is exactly what Sarchie believed the entire time. There were no missing children. This whole thing was just a ruse from some evil entity. So, you ask, all right, Damon, what do you think? Well, I'm not Catholic, but I don't have anything against Catholics either. Really, I'm pretty much just a skeptic at heart. So my mind sees it like this, and I know I'm going to get a slew of negative comments for this, but I can't help but to wonder about stress or suggestion, sleep deprivation, psychosomatic illness, shared delusions, maybe, or perhaps they were just focusing way too hard on a phone that simply had a little glitch. But to be fair, I suppose that they don't account for everything, right? Everybody at the Exorcism swore that Donna was speaking in a voice that wasn't hers at all. They all said that it took every bit of strength for those 4 individuals to hold her down, and still they could barely contain her. You know, believers will tell you that demons actually exist, and that we should all be very vigilant. Skeptics, of course, say that that's just folly. But I wonder, is it possible that there just might be higher dimensional beings who sometimes, for whatever reason, mess around in our world? Maybe. I'm not going to be so pompous as to say that that isn't possible. But at the same time, I think that there are more rational explanations for cases like these. I don't know. Whether Donna was possessed by something external or overwhelmed by something internal, the result, I think, was the same, right? A human being was reduced to an object of control because she got all wrapped up and focused so strongly on a single point. And it wasn't really the phone. No, it was the concept behind the phone. And that should probably be a lesson that we should take away from this story, because I think that the moment anyone starts focusing too intently on anything, what's that saying? When one stops seeing the forest for the trees, that's when one gets lost. So if you find yourself in a place where you can't tell the difference, well then, at that moment, I guess it may not matter at all whether you believe in demons or not.
A few months ago, I reached out to Sarchie, and I was pretty excited to get a response. Unfortunately, he said he no longer does interviews, but throughout his life, he documented several cases like this one. If you'd like us to look into and share another one of his cases, leave me a comment below. In the meantime, why not check out one of these amazing mysteries? And on a quick side note, I just wanted to give a huge shout out to Tom Harden. He's been our biggest financial supporter. Tom, we are so grateful for you. And thank all of you for watching.